Welcome to BiSy Conversations, Farming as an Enterprise. Today we have two eminent guests. First time this program actually inviting two eminent guests. First is Mr. Yerram Raju. In the past we had a conversation. He is a pioneer in financial measures towards enterprise. And today it would be very interesting to have his point of view in agriculture sector. He's a pioneer and also an advisor to the Government of Telangana in the area of reviving enterprises in the MSME sector. He's also a founder director of TIHCL, Telangana Industrial Health Clinic Limited. Welcome, sir, Mr. Yerram Raju. Once again,
Thank you.
it is an honor to welcome Mr. Chengel Reddy. He's dedicated his entire life to farmers' well-being. He's a founder advisor of CIFA, is a Confederation of Indian Farmer Association. He's also an advisor to Government of India over the last decade or so on agricultural budget, and also advising many industry federations, bodies, trade organizations. Welcome, sir, Mr. Chengel Reddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, both of you, for your time. And in the recent backdrop of farm reforms put a break, I would call the terminology. We would like to have this interaction, how we could take this further, whether to correct where have we actually lagging behind in terms of not having put enough pressure on the central government or political parties or among ourselves to come together. So in this context, we would like to start, but the focus would be on the agricultural budget. Since the financial year is beginning 2022, the finance minister would present the agricultural budget as part of the larger fiscal budget. So I would like to invite your thoughts, sir, Mr. Yerram Raju garu, you have been seeing many budgets over the last decades. So would like to request to make a remarks on that.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Naveen, for again involving me in this very important discussion on agricultural policy and the budgets. The agriculture is a concurrent subject in the Constitution of India, right? And Union government takes care of research, marketing, exports, etc., while the rest is the responsibility of the states. And so far as credit is concerned, it is the responsibility of the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, namely NABARD, as a supervisory institution, while RBI is a regulatory institution. I have been advocating for a separate budget for the sector because agriculture is not just crop cultivation. Agriculture is far beyond crop cultivation. People often refer agriculture only as crops. No, it has got different other components which are actually cross-holding the risks. If a small farmer is having a couple of animals, about 20 birds, poultry birds in his backyard, and a small pond with the fisheries, the integration will make him very strong, and any calamity that comes, only one of these aspects will get affected, the other aspect will come to his rescue. So agriculture should be viewed as an integrated activity of animal husbandry, bee culture, aquaculture, forestry, and produce cultivation, horticulture, and crop cultivation. See, all these components must be viewed with an integrated look. Then, when the reforms of the first generation started, many of us voiced the disappointment that they are missing the wood for the trees. And they missed the farm reforms completely. And there was no pressure group to work on the farm sector right from that day. The first time they commenced certain agenda of reforms was with the present government. Though there are a lot of inadequacies, and fault lines in their formulations, which has led to the farmers' agitation that we had all seen, on account of which they have withdrawn all the three amendments, the three laws that they have formulated. So we should understand that farmer is not a standalone person. He is also a part of the society. And, he has fed the entire nation and also contributed to the exports in the pandemic. And if at all anybody is least affected, it was the farm sector that was least affected, and farmer that was not affected much. But unfortunately, when it came to the question of earning money from his farm production, everybody has slipped off. See, though the lofty goal of doubling farmers' income has been going around for the past 5 years, there is no fixed agenda and fixed budget allocation from item 1, 2, 3, and then monitoring the entire budget in that direction. These things have not really taken place. After all, farmers are, there are small farmers, there are marginal farmers, there are tenant farmers, and tenant farmers actually they constitute a very strong group in crop cultivation in quite a few states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and other places, because many large farmers, have been either trading or industry farmers. So there is a need for thinking afresh, thinking out of the box on this particular aspect. I thought it is wiser to have all agricultural intensive states separate budgets for agriculture. And how should this budget be framed? What should be the basis? According to me, the universities of agriculture, animal husbandry, horticulture must be given the task of reviewing the agricultural economy in the state, which crops hold good in the prospective weather conditions of that particular state, and which crops require greater support from industry on one side and from government on the other side, and what integrated efforts are needed on either side. All these things must be held out as a approach paper for budget by the university vice chancellor, and it should be handed over to the state minister for agriculture, who will present it one day before the actual budget taking place. And once this approach paper is ready, on the basis of approach paper, the budget should be formulated, because we can't ask the moon. After all, there are limitations for budgets, and there are resources that are necessary for the budgets, where from the resources come, and in which areas of priority the resources are going to get expended, and then irrigated farming versus rain-fed farming, and then the solar or non-renewable energy versus the electric energy, how it should be getting to the farmers, and what is the mode in which they should reach, and how the overexploitation of groundwater should be prevented, and then how the water inundation of the crops should not spoil the entire farming sector. All these issues must find a place in terms of monetary dispensations where they are going to control. I think this will set a new trend in thinking about agriculture in the states, and then see where the credit should move. After all, if you keep on asking for waivers, whether the government meets or somebody meets is a different issue. After all, if you are wanting to take a loan and you want it to be written off, who would give you loan? Who would give you the loan? So you should create a climate. In fact, I want a legislative and also the parliamentary act preventing every political party from announcing any waiver of the loans. You should make available the credit very easily at low rate of interest to the farmer when he is in need, and you should recover the money when the farmer is having the income. So there must be a way in which you should get back the money. I was citing an instance when I was lending for fisheries. I was going to the jetty for collecting my income. If you miss the jetty, when the farmers come with the fish, that fellow will drink away the money. You can't really blame the fish farmer for that purpose. So what I would suggest for the consideration is that we should have a separate budget for agriculture in all agricultural intensive states. Number one. And union government also should formulate a separate budget for agriculture. See, earlier there used to be a separate budget for railways, now it has been merged with the other budget. But at least so far as agriculture, which is, spread throughout the country and which is over which the union government is having specific responsibilities in certain key areas, it should be able to tell how in the federal system it is going to implement the agricultural budget. No, that should come as the first statement from the union government. Then things will fall in place. Once the budget is giving a direction, then what happens is the union is bound by that budget consideration and they will have to consult the states to achieve those budgets. This is my first cut on the budget. I will come with other suggestions as we go along. I am sure Chengel Reddy Garu, being a veteran, will have his views also on this. Quite, I know he has very strong views so far as taxing the farmers are concerned, so far as giving income to the farmers in a manner that the farmer readily has in his hands when he actually needs it. These issues, I think Chengel Reddy Garu will be able to throw good light.
Yeah.
So that's a really great suggestion about decentralizing, farming being agriculture being, as you rightly said, we have only looked at crops, and this has been something, disadvantage. So how to look at farming as an enterprise, the agriculture sector, looking overall various components of it has not been put precisely because it has not been, given enough importance in fiscal policy and budgetary measures. And of course, there are huge measures to be done, including reforms. So, sir, I would like to hand over to Mr. Chengel Reddy. Sir, in the context of delinking all the blockages, I think budget is one good step. I think what sir has talked about. I know you have many points to add and describe it. So, sir, please give your perspective on it.
Thank you. First of all, actually now Government of India has many programs such as credit is under their control, crop insurance, and then there are subsidies for drip and sprinkler irrigation, mechanization. Large number of schemes are there. So also they are then they huge money they are giving for fertilizer subsidy. See, as of now, allocations are fairly reasonable. There is no doubt about it. But the question comes, how efficiently, effectively they are implemented, and what are the changes that requires to be made in the coming 2-3 years to solve the issues. One of the basic issues which Yerram Raju said is about waiving of the loan. This culture of waiving has come so much so today. The challenge before the financial institutions, banks is, suppose I give a loan and if it is not repaid, who is going to give guarantee? So such questions are there. Then when it comes to insurance, they are established institutions, but then the implementation is not really that very efficient because there are still too many gaps in that implementation. Then there is also this problem of fertilizer subsidy. Is it possible to curtail the present huge excess usage, or is it possible to give direct cash subsidy? So there are three things in farm sector in regard to union budget. Firstly, the existing policies of financial allocations and all that. Secondly, there are also serious problems. Policies are also controlled by Government of India, whether they are part of budget or not. The export-import policies with the government, and then they have this providing free food to the people, public distribution system. And they have also, there are few very critical issues which doesn't meet the eye. Take, for example, commodity boards are there, coffee, tea, spices. How is that? The question is, how is that these boards are not made democratized? Why is that people in this particular commodity producers are not made members and they elect the board? Instead, for almost this 50, 60 years, Government of India has been nominating some senior officers. So we find there are a lot of deficiencies in this commodity boards functioning, such as they are not able to become globally competitive. Spices now, Vietnam has become a global competitor. We import from Vietnam and re-export. Now that is not a good thing, and there are some deficiencies visible in the policies in regard to the agriculture, which are very clear. For example, so technology approval is by GEAC under the Ministry of Environment. Now, agriculture technology research is one part, approval is another part. And in the last 10 years, this GEAC has not met and they haven't taken a decision. My question to Government of India is, what is the use of having a GEAC? Why are you having it? And then also look at the another policy deficiency like Indian Council of Agriculture Research. The Director General reports to some joint secretary in ministry. Now, I would submit that the agriculture research must be on par with Atomic Energy Commission or space research. And the chairman, the DG must be made as a chairman of the entire Indian agriculture research. And he should learn to he must be allowed and empowered to directly talk to the Prime Minister, PMO office. What is the great importance? I would ask a question. Maybe defense and other things could be there, but agriculture importance, status of agriculture research, and people, scientists, and institutions working must be enhanced. Now, further, we also see the other deficiencies, such as just now, Yerram Raju garu has very aptly said, solar energy and power sector. There are opportunities. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, how come in the last 10, 15 years, the solar energy is not taken forward? And likewise, look at ethanol blending. Brazil is doing ethanol blending for last 30, 40 years at 30, 40%. Here, during UPA, it was totally nil. Now, Mr. Modi makes, half-hearted attempt like 1% increase, 2% increase. Now, that is not the way how to go about in bringing about when real change in the farmers' lives. There are, budget-wise, yes, as Yerram Raju once again very rightly said, I think there is a need for Government of India totally have a separate budget. Entire mechanism in coming days must be agriculture-centric. We have also on our behalf, we have made representation to Government of India. In the next 10 years, you focus agriculture-centric national economy. Because otherwise, I don't think the present industry and service sectors can really create jobs or bring about a major change in the national economy. So therefore, my observation, as Yerram Raju rightly said, I think the entire institutional functioning now in Government of India in regard to agriculture or connected with agriculture have to be reviewed, and a new look has to be, new approach and way has to be planned for entire agriculture. So that, you see, at the end of the day today, Indian agriculture quality part of it, we are nowhere. Productivity stagnated for 30 years and we are not globally competitive. So if agriculture is not made globally competitive, the so-called production is absolutely, it doesn't become profitable to farmers, not to the country. So I am for reforms in agriculture. Only thing is, it is like, say, Yerram Raju and friends who are, clarity and capacity to bring about the policy changes. And you, Naveen, institutions like you have to take it forward so that The reforms can be initiated, perhaps by state governments also can initiate reforms, not necessarily center. So I would leave it that definitely Government of India must have a relook at the entire agriculture issues.
Great point, sir. I think you have elaborated very beautifully what to be done, especially in terms of how to look farming as an enterprise, like in terms of providing various measures in terms of research, technology, how exports and imports have been managed, and productivity, competitiveness. These are all various components which largely are not managed well, or not guided, and there has to be a comprehensive view into it, especially in terms of budgetary measures. And one common consensus is that definitely we should have, a common budget for agriculture, and then has to be a, as Yerram Raju garu pointed out, it has to be clearly guided because it's a concurrent subject. How states should take up this budget, and there has to be some consensus built. Uh, Sir, in the when you look at agriculture sector comparing with any other economic activity, in private sector, if you compare it to any company or something, as you rightly said, credit and revenue are very important points. How an organization will sustain. So when we talk about budget, taxation is a very important measures they define in the policy for the budget. What is your view, sir, Mr. Yerram Raju? What is your insight about how is the current structure of the tax system with the indirect tax in the agriculture sector, and
See,
how is it? Please.
I am of the view that the incidence of tax shall not fall on small marginal farmers or tenant farmers. When we keep that as the goal, then you have a scope today where agriculture has been corporatized in large measure in quite a few states, and the lobbies have been built only around those corporatized agriculture and not the real farmer centric agriculture, as Chengel Reddy has rightly put it, to make it agricultural centric. After all, if you are putting a revenue goal even for agriculture with tax to start at a base level of say 25 lakhs, 5% tax. 25 lakhs is 5 times that of the normal other normal persons. So you are allowing only the large income earners through agriculture to be taxed. That means they become part of this entire revenue system. When I pay money, I have a right to demand certain things. And this right to demand, farmers have lost because they always are, at the receiving end. They are not, though they are largely at the giving end, which is not recognized. This giving end and receiving end should somewhere synchronize. And this synchronistic approach will be possible when agricultural budget targets large farmers with say 25 lakhs income at 5% rate. We will tax. No other slab, no dam, nothing whatsoever. Simple. And the collection should come straight away when a marketing takes place at 25 lakhs level. Okay, this is one. Second, all aggregators should not be taxed. No aggregators. For example, food processing organization is there. It collects the farm produce from many small and marginal farmers. So they should not be taxed. So this is the way in which I think we should proceed. Third thing I would say that the incentivization of the farmers for adopting technologies, it should also come from state budgets and central budgets. Both state and central budgets, incentives for technology upgradation should come. Because many farmers are today resorting, for example, a small farmer, if you would like to hire a robo for spraying fertilizers or adopt artificial intelligence. For example, you see a farm, a small farm of say about 3 acres, 4 acres. There is a rain shadow area in the farm field. In that rain shadow area, the production will be less, and in the other area, production will be more. Uh, the same bushels will not come uniformly throughout the place, and therefore,
Yeah. Sir, is it possible if you can close the door, Chengel Reddy garu? There might be some disturbance.
No,
From,
yeah.
is it okay?
Oh, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. We'll halt for a while so that you won't have any disturbance.
I think you will apply filters, You will
Yes.
apply filters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You
Thank you.
know,
Please go
so
ahead.
balancing the food system with environment is again a very big challenge in a country like ours, because we have got diversity in weathers, diversity in soils, diversity in crops, capabilities varying across the country in different manners, and we have got highest levels of efficiency and also lowest levels of efficiency. Therefore, how do we really bring them to a common fold with a common goal of, say, I would say, bringing about an inclusive approach for farm sector as well, and then the it is a I would say agriculturist is as much a buyer as a seller. Rather, I would say he is more a buyer than a seller. He buys so many inputs to sell one particular type of crop. Therefore, in what manner his capability to buy all the inputs that are required at a very economical price, at very optimum price. What is the manner in which we are distributing the resources across the farm sector? This is one thing that needs to be given attention, and it can be given attention when you formulate a separate budget for agriculture. The other thing I would also mention here, participatory planning. To what extent we are really making participatory planning in which the farmers of all categories form part of this, and then tenant farmers and farmer workers, female workers in the farm sector, because agriculture is the largest employer in the country. For a largest employer in the country, which has got scope for producing more with less of investment. That means the productivity ratio should substantially improve, as Chengel Reddy has been making out for nearly for a few decades. We have been crying for this. What is the productivity level of a Chinese small farmer with a Indian small farmer, or a Vietnamese small farmer with a small farmer of India? If you are looking at those comparisons, we lag. And this is where I think we need to concentrate, and that concentration will come with certain investment incentives. After all, when revenue comes, then you can ask for incentive. If revenue is not coming, you can't ask for incentive. Therefore, first you target for the revenue also in this budget at the threshold level I have indicated. Maybe that somebody may say that yes, 25 lakhs is too low, you can have a threshold of 50 lakhs. Fine, it doesn't matter. I don't disagree with them. I will say, yes, go ahead, but start at that level, and then make it, transparent. People must know why they are paying, what they are paying, where it should go. And it is just like, automaticity for income tax, automaticity. We have taken 7 decades. Today, everything is going very, very smoothly. Your refunds are also coming within less than 10 days. So this is the way in which I think you should your tax structure should move. The other point I would say is, I was mentioning, I'm is relating to the farmers who are aged, who are senior citizens in the farming community, particularly small and marginal farmers and tenant farmer sector. For those people, there must be an identity and they must be given pensions. After all, some may argue that tenant farmer, we don't know where he is, how, whether the same tenant farmer will continue for the next year. The type of contracts that exist in agriculture are very, very nasty, I would say. So this contract system in agriculture itself, whether between farmers, between farmer and the industrialist, between farmer and the trader, this contract system must be viewed separately, and a separate act, Indian Contract Act relating to farm sector, should be formulated, and that they must be having a timeline, and that act should be formulated. That will save a lot of hassles in the farming system, according to me. And the time is ripe now, because we have already missed the bus in reforms. Let us not call it reforms, but at least call a changed outlook for the farm sector that we should really usher in at this point of time.
So that's really encouraging insight in terms of budgetary, measures, as you said, in terms of, income tax and participatory planning, and also looking at the seniority of the farmer's age, and so many measures. These are really wonderful measures. Sir, I'm bringing the compass to different direction in terms of core agricultural concept. Now, in the last few decades, you have seen, sir, Mr. Chengel Reddy, that there has been a wide-scale disruption in the way agriculture is being adopted around the world, and the although WTO has not taken enough cognizance, but the Organization of Food and Agriculture, there is FAO, if I'm right, sir. Yeah. So they have taken cognizance of this and working with United Nations, and they are requesting how can the agriculture sector be compensated, and also recently the climate uh, summit held in London, they also agreed that one of the important parameters that we should focus on climate resilience for farming or agriculture, or they say agricultural resilience. So for crops and many other, like horticulture or fisheries, animal husbandry, many things will be impacted. So from the perspective of taking advantage, sir, from credit measures, budgetary, I'm sure that the government of India will take up these matters at the diplomatic level. In fact, this year also 2022, they are going to held wide-scale talks. What is the proportion of the revenue or the money which will be funded? It's like one of them is like renewable energy and water conservation and clean technologies. So, what is your perspective, sir, looking at fertilizer and pesticides to various other measures, how this can be integrated to compensate environment and agriculture to take an advantage for farmer?
See, my suggestion is let us look America, because the advanced country. What is the role of governments in America or Japan or many countries, Brazil, Argentina and Australia? If you see, it's mostly private sector as far as I know. Because the role of governments in India in the beginning, I mean, everything used to be government. Now, if you see after 1990 liberalization, the system has totally changed, whether it is Indian private or foreign private or NGOs, medical sector, defense sector. You have got a lot of international partnerships and all that. My first suggestion will be, if you want to bring about global level competitiveness of Indian farming, you have some serious problems of WTO is one. Secondly, look at the highly advanced developments that are happening across the world. Like I said, for example, Yerram Raju saying, technology adoption. For example, in Italy, the entire spraying is done only by drones, maybe about 90% like that. Now, when will it come to India? When you see, I mean, billion acres like that. There I see the role of government. As I said, again, we have to get back to the policies. What is the level of allowing private sector and other partnership between industry, private investors and farmers? Develop a alternative model, because frankly, I must say that the role of government, both central and state governments, should be curtailed in agriculture. I don't want these ministries and departments to run our lives on day-to-day basis. They should just do some monitoring and be off. So my suggestion in this regard is this taxation is what Yerram Raju said is very appropriate. He said about 25 lakhs limit like that. I would perhaps also request Yerram Raju to define who is a farmer. See, now that we have a lot of data, PAN card, etc., etc., what about these people who are holding lands around cities, farms in the name of thousands and lakhs of acres is there in their hands? And I don't know how many of them are productive. And if these people are holding lands and are not becoming productive, but then show it in some income tax, well, I don't think we should tolerate it any longer. It is high time. Now, these people must be told that they have to kind of behave themselves as a responsible citizens. So these are the things. But the great point which Yerram Raju made is that involvement of stakeholders. In all the countries in the world, the agriculture farmers have what you call a commodity boards or councils or unions. Now in India, somehow we have some of these coffee board, tea board, but they are not democratized. And then in the last 30, 40 years, they didn't allow any new boards to come up. Sugar, anything, every farmer can be networked. So you have labor unions working at Tahsil level, district, state and national level network, and all the organization structures like government, bankers, railways, they have national level federations, they all work together. What is the difficulty in farmers also networking, planning? Well, fundamental problem as I see now, taxation, yes, but then who is to tax again now? Income tax is Government of India hands and GST is in Government of India hands. Well, I think their knowledge of agriculture, farmers, again, it's a complex subject. Like you see, how are we to define a farmer? See, probably in industry, you have a specific definition of a laborer. What is the physical work and all that. Like that, I think we need to redefine. My submission is that in the next 3 to 5 years, we have to redefine the entire agriculture, because apart from science and industry, technology, war and all that thing, ultimately at the end of the day, if India has to continue as a happy nation, you have to revive the agriculture, villages, and there the Government of India should start decentralizing slowly over a period of time, totally allow the farmers to do. Yerram Raju garu, you remember, sir, that way back in 1970s, you have Zilla Parishads.
Right.
The presidents of Samitis and Jilla Parishad chairmen like Pinnamaneni Koteshwar Rao of
Right.
Krishna district, and there was one Mr. Chandrasekhar Reddy from Nelluru. Sir,
Yes.
their knowledge of agriculture planning is simply remarkable.
Yes.
Now, today you have a collector. He comes in collector stays for more than 2 years, and the poor fellow heads about 100 department. And where is time for him to think of agriculture? He can't understand the district agriculture conditions. So I would say, the other day we have put a proposal, Yerram Raju garu, All India Agricultural Services.
Okay.
We don't want this IAS to any longer run our shows. Entire ministries, departments, any institution of agriculture must have basic knowledge of farming. Otherwise, this urban-based IAS, the fellows doesn't know between the cow and a buffalo. I was asking some chap, he says, cow is a female, buffalo is a male. That is the knowledge of some of these urban-based IAS, and you can't help it. See, the problem is that is what they are, and then they come by accident, become IAS secretaries and all that. But it's okay. They can speak and excellent knowledge. They go to Harvard for re-education, but their knowledge of agriculture is this thing. So my suggestion is that what Yerram Raju garu said is very appropriate. I agree with him. Only thing is further, sir, I think let's go on doing that, redefining the farmers and all that. that will the taxation also is a very good issue, because I think it's high time now that we put an end to this the so-called farmers, Sunday farmers, holiday
Yes.
farmers.
Yeah.
And I want to coin another word, Yerram Raju garu, political farmers. You
Yes.
have We have some permanent artists among farmers leaders in
Right.
Congress, BJP, communists, leftists, rightists. They are perpetual farmers leaders. They're political farmers leader, and they have only one single agenda. That is, if you are in the ruling party, you say my government Jindabad. Everything my government says is good, great, extraordinary. The moment you go to the other side, opposition, you say the whole bloody government is useless, they are bloody blood, blah, blah, blah. So these political farmers is another thing we should coin and propagate. That's it. Go on, Naveen. I mean, what Yerram
Yes,
Raju
sir. True, very
garu's
much true.
knowledge on taxes is really
Yeah.
appreciable. He's a finance person. I think we will abide, I mean, take forward his suggestions. Yeah.
So absolutely, sir. And I think your points are very valuable. And it is a fact that sir, rhetoric has been the center stage, unfortunately, for farmers, because as Yerram Raju garu said, that he's only a giver, he's not a taker. So the moment he starts demanding, so
On,
the moment he starts demanding, and everybody will stop rhetoric.
on.
And but as a human, as a humanity, and also as a citizen of the nation, sir, I think we are grateful to the farming community, because they have the you have seen that many sectors have failed and risen, and but the farming
True.
sector is one thing which is continuously been, although the farmer has suffered loss, and he may have failed in sustaining himself, but he has been successful in feeding the population and make the nation rich in surplus in food and various other things. So,
I
but the
think we
story of
can.
the farmer and agriculture is still a success, sir, although he has sacrificed. So we are paying tribute to your farming community, and hope all other sectors, we realize our mistakes, including the budgetary or whatever. And Yerram Raju garu is also, we will do our due. Sir, do you want to make any points,
Yeah.
Yerram Raju?
Concluding point, I would say, because you have made a mention about the climate crisis and then resilient farmers, to ensure the resilience of food production in the face of climate crisis. What ActionAid has told was, avoid the crisis itself, food systems must convert from industrial agriculture techniques towards sustainable land management approaches such as agroecology and agroforestry and so on. And then such transmission to take place in agriculture, it must be in such a way that it works for the farmers. It should
Correct.
work for the farmers, and it should work for the farm workers and not against them. You see, I am in agreement for transition, for transformation, climate resilient agriculture, but whatever transformation takes place, it should work in favor of the farmer and farm worker. As long as we can ensure that, I have no issues about it. Because he is the biggest contributor today, though it has come down to only 15% of the GDP today, but this coming down has happened because of the contribution that is not being made by the farm sector to the revenues. When it makes contribution to the revenue sector, then it will get into a different mode of GDP itself. In fact, GDP itself is getting recalculated once in every 2 years. Some economists calculate in some different fashions, and then there is a big argument that is going on between World Bank economists and Indian economists. And the chief economic advisor made recently one more statement. So there are lots of discussions on how the GDP is getting formulated, and we are continuously getting into a situation where contribution of agriculture to GDP is less. Therefore, we should give only less to the agricultural sector. This sort of argument should be condemned, according to me, and we should really see how best the GDP also for farm sector becomes higher and higher. And with these final remarks, I think I would like to close my discussion on this issue for the time being. We have, because this is such a exciting topic. You can speak for hours, you can speak for days, but we should restrict ourselves to the time, because listeners also should get interested with us. Thank you very
So,
much, Naveen, for
yes.
organizing this.
Yes, sir. So I would like to say 30 seconds, sir, from the observation what you made comment. I'm not an economist, neither an expert in financial. I'm more an expert in the area of sustainability. The 15% GDP, sir, which you mentioned, I have been observing the economic theories and economic policies. I think one of the flaws is that, sir, we have not taken agricultural income and the sales of the crop income, these things into consideration. So I believe if those things are considered, it will be more than 50% GDP. Is it correct, sir, or I don't know?
No, it won't come to that. But then there is, you see, the services that go from agricultural sector. The contribution to industry also goes from agricultural sector. Therefore the industrial GDP, services sector GDP has certain components from agriculture. If
Correct,
you
correct.
really look at those bifurcations, the contribution of agriculture to the GDP will be quite higher than the
At least one third,
15%.
sir. One
It may
third.
not touch. It may not touch 50%, but at least it will go up by another, 78% in the immediate stance recalculation.
That's still a very significant number, sir. One fourth is still a significant number. So, sir, I would like to hand over to you, sir, for final remarks. Maybe in another minute or so, sir, Mr. Chengel Reddy. We will do more such interactions, sir. So, but we would like to, conclude in a very optimistic note. What are the points we can work on for the future?
See, we have achieved self-sufficiency and we are also producing surplus. The next challenge which before the nation, apart from farmers, is how do we make farmers globally competitive and what are the steps to be taken? That's all the issue before the policymakers, that's the politicians, administrators, and the middle class and intelligentsia. If they start thinking that farmers also can be propelled to become globally competitive, that will be really nice. I wish and I only hope people will realize the importance of farm sector. And if they do, then probably definitely they will do that. That's all. Thank you, Naveen. And let's keep working. I'm very happy. And I will also next time, Naveen, I will introduce you some of my colleagues because now I'm handing over the baton to other friends. We have very good people. For example, Solar, we have and Emi Srinivas working and Somsekhar Rao, our Telangana president. We have a number of friends now. I have developed a number of farmers associates of mine and slowly for the next 1 or 2 years, they will be taking charge. You can always involve them. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you for organizing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the underlining statement, sir, is very, very encouraging, sir. Making how farming can be made globally competitive. I think this is a win-win situation for everybody. I don't think anybody will disagree. So on that note, sir, I would like to.
Naveen,
Yes,
Naveen, all that I want to tell the people of this country is,
yes,
don't think farmers are,
absolutely.
okay, you have sympathy, love, affection, concern. Don't bother. No, first, forget about it. Start thinking how to change it. Because I see a lot of friends, weeping, feeling sorry. Yes, okay, damn thing. But tell me how I can become competitive. That should come from now these critics are no sayers. Thank you, Naveen.
Exactly, sir. Was the reason why we have started this farming as an enterprise, where all the current generation should view this as a very lucrative, mechanism for their future. Not only in terms of just having a food or looking at agriculture, but this is also one of the important area of economic activity and future, for the world. So on that note, sir, thank you very much, both of you, Mr. Chengel Reddy and also Yerram Raju, sir. We'll look forward to see you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you. Wish all the best to you.
Thank you.